Greetings, children of the screen, your friendly neighborhood nerd scum here once again, and over the course of my quarantine here, I finally had a chance to finish watching The Mandalorian. And I'd watched a couple episodes of it, like, earlier on when it first came out, but I don't have Disney Plus myself, so I'd have to go somewhere to watch it. And after the first, 2-3 episodes, I just wasn't really feeling the show the way everybody else was. And so, but people assured me, they were like, oh, don't worry, dude, if you just give it a chance and really get into it, as the show goes on, it gets fucking amazing, the best thing Star Wars has ever done. So the other night, there I was, sitting there, ready to watch the last episode, just about to crank it out and finish the last one, and I was thinking to myself, I wonder when it's gonna get good. Alright guys, so I did not enjoy The Mandalorian. There were definitely things about The Mandalorian that I enjoyed, for sure, and we will get into that. But as a show, I didn't really enjoy it. And I'll be honest with you guys, I've been pretty sick the last few days. I don't have COVID-19, I'm just having regular sinus issues, so I should be fine, but I'm still feeling pretty trash. So I'm going to go through this as succinctly and quickly with as few tangents as possible. Oh my god, this scene goes on forever. It's still going. Is this a scene from Red vs. Blue? It just keeps going. It's like Clerks in the Star Wars. Did Kevin Smith direct this episode? What the fuck is this? Number 1. Plot padding. So, the general plot of this is our Mandalorian, Mondo, is hired to pick up a package. He finds out that the package is a baby, and then, decides that he delivers it, but then decides to take the baby and try to keep him safe. And eventually, by the end of the season, literally in the very last episode, he is basically charged with taking the child to find his own race of people. That is the entire plot of the first season of The Mandalorian. And, it's only 8 episodes, so when I went in, I wasn't really expecting, a really full-blown, in-depth plot or anything like that, but what we ended up with is about enough plot to fill one movie. So, because of that, what we end up with is at least 3 episodes of just padding. Just padding and bullshit. The second episode, I believe it is, where basically Mondo has to get all the pieces of his ship back from, the frickin' Jawas. That episode, there is literally only one thing that happens in that episode that is consequential to the characters or the overall plot. I guess 2 things, technically. He meets the little old man who you just know is going to come back in the final episode, which he does. And then we get to see Baby Yoda use his Force powers, which we all knew he was going to do. So it's not something that we even really, it was something that was a given. It was just a matter of when. So basically we had a whole episode wasted for that. Then we have the episode where Mondo has to, it's the classic, tropey, cliched kind of Western story of the gunslinger who comes to a town of people who are, oh, the outlaws are real bad around there, and the gunslinger and, his ragtag group of people, help them come together and learn how to fight the big bad evil, and, it's boring and bullshit, just, whatever, fuck it, it doesn't even matter. And then finally you have the episode that I kind of thought was going to be my favorite episode, which was the heist episode, which is, right towards the end of the show, and in that episode, again, we get characters who are basically non-existent, they're calling them cliches would be too much of, giving them too much credit. Yeah, the characters that he goes on this mission with are completely stupid. Obviously, the mission he goes on from the beginning of it, we all know that it's a setup, and he probably knows that it's a setup, but he just goes along with it anyway, and yeah, he manages to get out of it, but we'll get back to that when we get to start talking about the characters of this piece. But yeah, the characters suck, the plot is just so-so paint by numbers, and about halfway through it you realize that there's nothing in this episode that's happening that's of any value to the characters or to the plot of the overall show. We learn little bitty things about these guys and how they certain ones of them have history with Mondo, but that's it. And that doesn't really give us any more insight into Mondo. It's basically just to be oh no, we're going to hit all the tropes of this kind of storytelling, which is what every episode does. But basically, it's all just filler. It's all just filler. And the episodes that are there, that are plot-focused, are pretty good, but if you were to take and get rid of those crap episodes that mean nothing and push the moments that mattered into the other episodes, all those episodes would be stronger, because every single episode out of this series, you could cut 20 minutes out of it, and it wouldn't affect the story at all. Which I guess is, like, now, I haven't seen, like, Rise of Skywalker, but if we're talking about The Last Jedi, that's the same thing with that movie. You could literally cut half that movie out and it wouldn't matter, so I guess they're just going with the fucking Star Wars formula at this point. Oh my god, so much padding. I guess if you hired Gus, you gotta give him shit to do. I don't know. Next is the characters. The characters in this show are so goddamn paper thin that if you were to throw the tiniest of pebbles at them, they would explode into motherfucking confetti. Furthermore, this show only is able to exist and carry on because the characters in the universe they've created are all a level of stupid that is normally reserved for the B and C, like lowest of schlock horror movies and exploitation films. There are constantly, in every episode, characters making decisions that no one would ever make. Even the most brain-dead, numbskull, ether-huffing, like hillbilly bastards, no one would make the decisions that these stupid fucks are making. Just one example. In the second to last episode, they are traveling through the desert with the leader of the frickin' bounty hunter guild. He's got like 3 or 4 guys with him. They stop to camp out overnight, and while they're there, they get attacked by some giant fucking pterodactyl dragon lizard thing. You know, okay? Now, keep in mind that these bounty hunters, this planet is their base of operations. Now, since the first episode, we've had a lot of the former Imperials coming in, so they haven't been able to do business. It means they're there a lot. The main dude, he lives there. Okay, this is his planet, alright? So all these guys who have training and survival skills know that these things are out there. They choose to camp in the middle of the fucking night, in the middle of the desert. They do not tell anyone in their group, by the way, you might want to watch out for the giant monsters that fly around the area and just, like, pick people up. By the way, they're also poisonous. And they don't take any, like, precautions or any preventative measures. It's like, what the fuck is wrong? Does this show actually expect me to buy this shit? It's only in there because they need to be able to surprise you with something, and that scene does surprise you because it comes out of fucking nowhere and makes no sense given the knowledge that these characters should have within this world. There's literally a million things that they could do, but they needed that, and they needed a moment for the leader of the bounty hunter guild to frickin' see Baby Yoda do a healing thing so that he could, you know, turn around and, like, not screw these guys over, because again, it's another setup, because we all know it's a fucking setup, and even Mondo knows it's a fucking setup, but he goes along with it anyway, because it's like the only way, and they don't even bother to try to fucking explain why it's the only way. He just does it because he's a fucking dumbass, like every other episode. Does this show really expect me to believe that these characters, living the lives that they live, in the worlds that they live, these are the decisions they would make? Because the entire show hinges on these harebrained, stupid-ass fucking decisions. It is ridiculous. They are all cliches of archetypes. They're like archetypes boiled down to the most uninspired, unoriginal, unentertaining version of that character that is, except for Mondo, who's actually somehow even worse. Because typically in the kind of show they're doing, he would actually be the least developed character, because he's kind of like the quiet, gruff hero and stuff. But because of the episodic nature of this show, what you actually end up with is a satirical character. And by that, I don't mean a character that's meant to make fun of something. I mean a character like Gulliver from Gulliver's Travels. The idea being he's a character who is so vaguely and nebulously defined that he can be anything the story needs him to be for that moment. So sometimes Mondo is a well-trained, super badass bounty hunter and fighter, and other times he's a buffoon and an ass. And again, if you're doing a story like Gulliver, or doing a character like Ash from the Evil Dead series, that makes perfect sense. But when you're taking the archetype that the Mandalorian is supposed to be, and then applying that kind of satirical overlay to the character so that you can just kind of have him form and meld to be anything you want him to be, like, it really makes it difficult to connect with him on, like, a real level as a real character, because, again, he's the Mandalorian. He's got his face covered, so we need to have a very defined, set character for him that does not deviate, whereas this character is all over the place. And, you know, I'm not going to say that he's not cool in moments, because he definitely is, but it's inconsistent, like everything else with this show. And the worst part of it is, they couldn't make it a whole season without taking his fucking helmet off. Like, and I understand, they took his helmet off for 1 minute, you know, like, but it's, with the kind of character he is, he needs to have a sense of mystique. He needs to have an air of mystery, and, like, be that character. And taking that mask off, taking the helmet off, completely shatters any mystique that character has. Now he's just some fucknut wearing Mandalorian armor, because he's not a Mandalorian, he was just raised by him. He's just some fucknut in Mandalorian armor, just like Boba Fett. Okay? I know there's debate still, I don't know what it is in the new Star Wars canon, but anyway, that's not the point. The point is that, like, essentially, taking off his helmet is the same thing as us finding out that Wolverine is just a farm boy from Canada. You know, or that, like, giving the Joker a backstory, or having Judge Dredd remove his helmet to find out, oh, he's just Rocky, it's just Sylvester fucking Stallone, that's all it is. It takes away something that is intrinsically a part of what makes that character cool and badass, and throws it out the window for a moment where we can see his face, which is either to, like, cater to the actor so that he can show his face, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's more just a matter of, like, oh, things are really dire right now, so, to make people feel how important and how, like, serious things are, we're gonna take the helmet off. And at the end of the day, it just made me lose any interest in that character. He wasn't well characterized, he wasn't well developed, he wasn't even consistently cool, but the last, like, visage of awesome and of, like, mysterious and of, like, things that would make me want to keep coming back to this character was just totally taken away. So yeah, the characters in this show suck. These characters suck. These characters fucking suck. What is even the point of them setting up that big gun? They know there's 3 of them in there, and they've got, like, 50 dudes, and this guy clearly doesn't care about his own men's lives, so why would he waste resources on this? What the hell? This is a bullshit scene. Oh, there's a personal connection to these characters and that weapon. Holy shit, guys. Doesn't that just raise the fucking stakes so high? Up next, special effects. So yeah, the special effects in this show, I will give them credit. About 50% of the time, they didn't look like a fucking cartoon. The rest of the time, I could very easily be watching Star Wars Rebels. Yeah, the effects in the show are so goddamn inconsistent. And it's crazy because they employ a lot of really cool technical tricks. Like, they have a lot of front projection screens going on for all of their backgrounds and stuff like that. Like, in a lot of the buildings, it's not a set they've built. It's like a screen where they're projecting that set onto that screen. And it looks fantastic, and I will not take that away from them. Baby Yoda, 75% of the time looks really good. Looks really good. But then, there are other times where, like, in episode 2, we have our 2 characters, like, riding their little weird Minecraft blob things across the fucking desert, and it is very clearly 2 cartoon characters riding across a very real desert, and it's bullshit. It looks so fake, and it takes you out of that, like, rugged, dirty western feel that you're supposed to have. Even though the cinematography in the first couple episodes kind of does that anyway, because when you're outside it looks like a fucking TV show. Which again is something that you could have used, you know, post-production and special effects to fix and make it look a little bit more grainy and rugged and stuff like that. But no, let's just let it look like, you know, a cheap BBC show, why don't we? It's not like we're making a fucking Star Wars show for the company that has literally more money than, like, most small fucking countries. And while we're at it, like, let's, you know, just like, okay, so Baby Yoda looks good in this shot, but let's, like, not animate him interacting with the ground at all, so it'll look like he's just kind of hovers over it, because, you know, he's got the Force, maybe he's just floating and shit. But yeah, dude, oh my god. And it happens so consistently, even in, like, the final fucking episode. There is effects in that episode that just look so fake, and especially when we're in the spaceships. The spaceships, when they're out in space, all that stuff looks like I'm watching episode 1. It fucking sucks. I'm not going to harp on this anymore because, like I said, it was about 50-50. Just another example of this show being wildly inconsistent and people kind of ignoring the bad and going with the good because they feel like this is the best Star Wars we've had in like 10 years. That's definitely protecting. Oh, okay, I get it. So now we're just going to do Shoot 'em Up. This is just a remake of Shoot 'em Up, but in the Star Wars universe. Okay, cool. Great. That's awesome. That's what we always needed in Star Wars. And then that brings us to Baby Yoda. Fuck Baby Yoda. And I know everybody loves Baby Yoda. That just makes me hate him worse, guys. No matter how much you tell, oh, he's so cute. Like, I don't give a fuck. And here's the reason why, okay? I hated the idea of Baby Yoda or the child, okay, since I heard about it. And it is because Baby Yoda is only in this show for one reason. Because they didn't sell enough fucking porgs from the last Star Wars trilogy. Okay? So they were looking and they were like, okay, well, what's our most marketable, what's our best-selling toy character? Well, it's not R2 anymore because we shit out a new version of that with a different color every time we put out a toy line, so people are sick of that shit. So it's Yoda. Oh, well, you know what made us a lot of money? In Guardians of the Galaxy 2, we put in a baby Groot, and that thing sold like fucking gangbusters. So if we put a baby Yoda into this show, then we'll sell tons of plushies and toys and t-shirts and toothbrushes and all that other bullshit. And that's the only reason that that character is in the show. Alright? It is artistically bankrupt at its core, and every time I see the character on screen, it makes me nauseous. Because, literally, think about it. Is there any reason in this show why him being of the Yoda's race is important? We get one line where they talk about how they have a connection to the Mandalorians. That's fine. The show has not given us nearly enough to make me think that that's okay, that the artistic bankrupt side of it, where it's just there to sell toys, right now so far outweighs anything that they are even attempting to do in terms of the story, that I don't give a fuck. And you might say, oh, next season, but here's the thing, they wasted 8 fucking episodes of filler where they could have set that shit up. This fucking show was a waste. And Baby Yoda, one of the few things in the show that everyone loves, like they didn't do anything with him. He's a plot device, and nothing more than a fucking plot device. Even in the stories that, like, this show is taking inspiration from, like Lone Wolf and Cub and stuff like that, like, the child has more of a role than just being a fucking plot device. And that's all he is in this. He's a plot device who's there to sell you fucking merchandise. And I can't stand him. I don't give a fuck how cute he is. I don't care how good the animation is most of the time. It doesn't matter. Like, it is an artistically bankrupt concept, and I find it hard to believe that they could ever do anything with that character that for me would justify how shitty and, like, how little respect they have for their fan base by just shilling them with shit instead of actually trying to create something new and interesting and unique. Fuck Baby Yoda. Okay, so he's got a little dick. That's why he brought that gun out there. He needed to make a point and freak him the fuck out. Like, he's got a tiny little bitty dick. So I guess that is fitting. You know what? It's right. That's not a stupid scene. It makes perfect sense for his character. He's got a little dick and he's overcompensating. Good. Glad Star Wars has that now incorporated into it. I'm very happy. Okay, guys. I could honestly keep going like this for another hour and a half, 2 hours, but I'm going to try to keep this simple and sweet, so I'm just going to jump into the things that are mostly about, like, the last episode that I didn't really care for, because everybody keeps telling me how great it is, but it's like, in that episode, we have a 4-minute-long scene of 2 frickin' stormtroopers just talking to each other, wasting our time again, as if this is shot by fucking Kevin Smith. Did he direct the final episode? I don't think he did, but that's what it seems like from this scene. In that scene, the IG nanny bot does a frickin' shoot-'em-up sequence, like from the Clive Owen movie, you know? Oh yeah, that's, the baby's perfectly safe, like, there. And then finally, whenever they finally introduce our big bad guy, the guy who's been behind it all, like, not only do we not, like, learn anything about him, except for the fact that he's supposed to be scary, and the fact that he's really stupid, like all the other characters, because he has them pinned down, there's dozens of troopers there, he's got a TIE fighter, but then they still bring in a giant cannon that he's going to use to kill them, but then he gives them 24 hours, and then, like, during the fight, you find out that if you just shoot, like, the power box for that cannon, that it'll explode, killing everyone around it, so it's really stupid and shitty, and he's a bad character. Then also, just so, you know, to prove how badass he is, after his big long monologue, his supervillain monologue, at the end of it, he pops out of his crashed TIE fighter, which he survived the crash of course he did, with the fucking Darksaber, because I guess they hadn't stolen enough things from Star Wars Rebels at that point. Yeah, that episode was also stupid, just like the rest of them. It wasn't good. Had a lot of fun action in it, though. It definitely had a lot of fun action, but fuck that episode. Fuck all these episodes. Yeah, I guess it's a good thing that he didn't, you know, go into space, the thing that fucking ship is made to fucking do. So, does this show absolutely suck? Is it the worst thing ever? No, it's not. It's just bland, mediocre, tropey, cliched, cookie-cutter bullshit. Like the same thing that we've got from like the last 2 or 3 Star Wars movies. You can predict everything about it. The characters are hollow. The plot is lame. There's filled with padding. This doesn't have quite as much of like the forced politics of some of the previous movies, but all the problems are the same problems. They're just coming from a different place. So no, I didn't enjoy the show, and it did not really entertain me for more than maybe 4 or 5 minutes at a time, and then I was into something where my brain kicked back on, and I was forced to actually look at what was up on the screen and be like, wait, does that doesn't work. Why is everyone sucking this show's dick? I still don't get it. Now, if you're one of the people who does really like the show, more power to you. Again, like, for me, Star Wars has been over since Episode 1 came out. Like, for me, Star Wars is Star Wars, and, like, that's all it is. Like, I will enjoy things that come out in the future, and there will be things that I don't enjoy. But I don't really have the same emotional attachment that a lot of other people have to Star Wars, so I didn't need this show to be good the way that a lot of other people needed it to be good. So if this is the Star Wars show you've been looking for, then, like, fuck what I say. I'm just some asshole on the internet. Enjoy what you like. But if you like this video, then please leave a like down below and share it with some friends. Also, if you're not subscribed, then definitely subscribe so you can check out all the dope content I'll have coming out in the future. Once again, children of the screen, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you all have a good one. Take care of yourselves in this crazy, crazy time. Wash your hands, all that good stuff. Nerd Scum, out.